So we're all here because we're passionate about B2B payments. That is, in fact, what we call this day. There's this quote that Winston Churchill once said about America, but maybe it was a bit mean-spirited, but that's okay. He was like that, which was, America can always be trusted to do the right thing after trying literally every other option before that. And I kind of feel like that's a little bit how I feel about payments and crypto. Like crypto, we've been around for about 15 years. And if you read Satoshi's white paper, he talked about payments. He talked about buying coffee in the white paper. And then we spent 15 years trying literally every other thing we possibly could. We tried pictures of monkeys. We tried investing in the philosophical concept that is a Shiba Inu and meme coins in general. We tried, every different form of DeFi, all these things, when sitting out there was this $1 trillion market that no one in crypto really wanted to go after. But it finally, and look, in our defense, there was a lot of stuff we had to do, stables had to come out, there's some regulatory issues, things like that. But we literally spent 15 years getting to this point where now we can start talking seriously about payments and crypto. And payments and crypto this is what crypto was made for. $150 trillion is about how much B2B money flows around the world every single day. About 50 trillion of this is cross borders. To put this in, trillion is not a real number. It is, but it's one of those things that it's inconceivable, right? So I think the way I always describe this is that if you get paid $100,000 a year, you work 10 years, you make $1 million, right? You have to work 10,000 years to make $1 billion. You then have to work 10,000 times that to get $1 trillion. So this is an inconceivable amount of money that's flowing through at a rate every single year of this amount of money. And then we in the crypto space are all ignoring this and why would we care about payments? But anyways, we got past that. It's all good. So we are. So this is the market that we all are in a position now to start looking at, playing around with, and getting at. I love to talk a little bit about why now, why payments, because this is what the heart of everything today is. So traditional payments fit into these three buckets. They are slow. So if anyone here, I imagine a lot of people here pay bills or get paid. You're generally seeing 3 days, 3 to 4 days for those payments to settle. If you are working internationally, so if you pay a developer out in another part of the world, you might see rates as long as 2 weeks that you actually are sitting on that. It is expensive. That 2 week payment, I think we pay a developer in India and the Indian banks take about 10% of it in addition to all the rest of the stuff that's happening. So we pay fees, the banks take fees. It is incredibly expensive. So it's 2 weeks to have this terrible experience and have someone take 10% of your money on the other side of it. It's insane. And then, outdated is this idea. It's not something that we talk about all the time with payments, but at the end of the day, programmability for payments is actually incredibly complicated. So a company like Stripe is charging you 3%, 300 bips to offer that programmability, to offer that API to make it possible to get a webhook when a payment happens on chain. And that's kind of insane. You think about Bill.com is a great example. These are guys that they built their entire business around gatekeeping access to the rails and sort of rent seeking that access. And that's just not the crypto world. The crypto world is that rails are out there, they're easy to use, and they're incredibly programmable. And so all of these traditional things that we talk about for payments is just, it's done. The traditional payment industry is done. And this is actually my favorite slide. So I think if you don't know how the economics of some of these AR/AP companies work, this is how they work. So someone like Bill.com, Ariba, there's a bunch out there. QuickBooks is a good example. They just launched they have a big payments product. 65% of their revenue is coming from transaction fees and float. So that is to say that there's 45% of the revenue is coming from, or 35% of the revenue is coming from enterprise SaaS, and that's fine. That's the software you use. Those are the things we pay. 50% of their revenue comes from transaction fees. 50% of their revenue comes from if you want to send someone a check overnight, if you want one of your bills that you are paying them to pay, you want it paid tomorrow, they're charging you $10 to $20 to send that check overnight, which is again absolutely insane because we're all crypto people and who in the world would do that? They then also, so it's 50% is in fees, 15% of the revenue is from float. So this is how a lot of these guys make their money is they pull the dollars out of your bank account, they hold it in their bank account for 4 or 5 days, and then they put it in the other person's bank account. They don't have to, but that's their entire business model is based on that, and they earn interest while it's sitting in there. That's your interest. It's either you as the vendor, you as the client. It's not their interest, it's your interest that they basically kind of bamboozle us all into pain and be happy about pain. And when you add that all up, it's billions and billions of dollars. So this is how the payments industry works today, and this is like what's ripe for disruption across the entire board here. And I'm just sort of so sick of that. And it's funny is like blockchain is that use case. Like if you've been in the space long enough, you have heard over and over and over that blockchain is like, you will have heard people that don't like crypto and don't like blockchain asking what's the use case? Like what is the use case of blockchain? Like why do we need this stuff? Like what does it do? Like this is the use case. Like payments is this use case. It is a network of worldwide people that don't trust each other, maybe don't even like each other, that have to exchange information and value. That is literally what blockchain was built for. And it only took us 15 years to kind of figure that and get serious about it. So the new world, faster, cheaper, better, instant settlement of digital asset payments, cheaper, for most payments, the way that we think about it is an east to west payment that's on the same rail and of the same currency. So if you're on ETH and you want to move USDC and the other person who you're paying is on ETH and wants to take USDC, that payment is at the cost of the network. So if you're doing that on Solana, it is 1/100th of a penny. If you do it on Base, it's a penny. Like if you do it on ETH, it's $1. So it's like this idea of monetizing that middle, like monetizing access to that middle area, monetizing the rail and gatekeeping the rail, like that's gone. Like you can't do that anymore. You can add value around it. That's what everyone here is doing. That's how we think about this. But you can't charge bips. You can't charge someone just to move east to west in the same thing. It's obviously fast, it's obviously cheaper, and then programmability is built in. Like as we're all looking at this, programmability is deeply embedded in the entire system here, so that if you need to hook it into your internal systems, tie it into your supply chain system, hook it up into your billing system, whatever you want to do, like it's on a blockchain, you just go and you make a call and any developer in the entire world can pull off of it. I mean, it's the most exciting, without being too hyperbolic, it's the most excited I've ever been about crypto because it's finally crypto that we're not necessarily selling to crypto natives. It's not, what do they say, the firing squad where everyone's shooting at each other. Like there are people out there that we can go and address. There's an addressable market out there that is not crypto native companies because everyone pays people. This is exciting. So if you think about that $170 trillion of worldwide movement of assets, $30 trillion is how much settled. This was the Coinbase report last week. The $30 trillion settled in USDC or in stable coins over the past year. So like the scale is there. Like we are ready at an existential level to start thinking about what it takes to actually do this and to start replacing traditional financial rails with crypto. And it's pretty exciting. But that is to say, there is quite a bit of work left to do. So there's a lot of work left to do in interoperability. There's a lot of work left to do on the enterprise integrations and the ERP sides. There's a lot of work to be done in winning the hearts and minds. Because unfortunately, because of the things like the meme coins, maybe crypto isn't always taken as seriously as it should be. I'd like to think that we take it seriously, but it has a stigma and things like that. There's a lot of work left to do to get people in. So that'll be something that we talk about today is how do you onboard your vendors? How do you onboard your leadership? How do you onboard the other people at your company to get serious about digital assets and realize that this isn't just meme coins and things like that we're looking at here. So here's what we're gonna be talking about today. We've got three major themes. This is what we want everyone to go away with. So first theme is we got to get vendors on this. So in order for digital asset payments to be successful, there have to be people that are willing to get paid either in digital assets or from digital asset companies where they're going through a process to like off-ramp. And so this is like number one is, and we're gonna be talking about this a lot, is like how do you convince folks that they should take it, that this is better? There's a lot of clever answers here, right? So if you think back to this idea of the float that like someone at Bill.com is taking, so Bill.com, they say net 30 and then they actually deliver the money on net 34. Well, that's negotiation points, right? So if I can actually suddenly offer as a vendor, if I can offer someone net 34, but I'm gonna get the money that exact day, like you can start fiddling with those kind of dynamic terms. So there's a ton of stuff to get vendor adoptions. There's a lot of like knobs and levers to pull here that are beyond just like crypto's fun and cool and all that kind of stuff that we should be talking about here. We're gonna be talking a lot about the infrastructure and compliance. So there's more regulatory clearance coming. There's infrastructure like Bitwave that you need to use to actually integrate with your ERP and your billing processes and things like that. There's a ton of compliance work that says like, hey, if you're paying $10,000, you suddenly are under certain regulatory guidelines and things like that. So we'll talk about that today. And then the second panel is all about security and privacy because one of the issues with crypto is that unless you think deeply about it, you can kind of dox yourself and how much revenue you're making. And so this is one of those important things is as a public company or as like bigger companies using digital asset payments, you have to think about, well, if Google moved all of their transactions to be on chain, then you actually could get a really good proxy of their revenue, whether it went up or down, by looking at their on-chain activity. That creates public company problems. There's all these issues that come around privacy here. And then, of course, security. Well, I mean, we all saw the Bybit hack, which was directly related to essentially, without getting into too much detail, it was directly related to a compromise of a payments product, basically. It was a compromise of Gnosis Safe's web UI that basically was very, very targeted that allowed them to do this. So even how you think about security in this world has to kind of change, and you have to get more serious about it from that side. I'm really excited. So, and I will wrap up here very shortly, and we'll bring our panel on. Doing pretty good. I'm very excited to announce a new initiative from Bitwave that we are incredibly excited to be getting going. Over the past year, we've been working on a payments network. So we have clients like Coinbase that are paying millions of dollars a quarter to a bunch of folks that are out there that are enabling this. The idea behind the Bitwave Payment Network is it is a network of like-minded people that want to get paid. And pay people, I guess, is also the other side of it. So it's in fact like a big part of the philosophy here is that we are enabling using digital assets, payments, but it is not necessarily tightly coupled to folks that are only willing to pay out or get paid in digital assets. So what we're announcing today is Bitwave Payments is an entire initiative that we have that is bringing together the vendors and the clients and the partners who want to enable this entire ecosystem. So that includes on-ramp, off-ramp, bridging, swapping, custodial, yield-bearing accounts, yield-bearing stablecoins, digital assets, blockchains, and then the vendors and clients that they actually want to work with to pay through that. So this is a world that is a incredibly exciting kind of vision for how payments can work. And there's a part that I get to sort of like make a promise on today I'm so excited about, which is that within this universe, anytime that you are using any of this software to make a payment on the same rail for the same asset, that will be just the cost of the network itself. So this is a totally new way to think about how to work with digital assets so that you can come on board, you can start getting paid or paying people. And if you're using crypto, you can do that entirely for essentially free or whatever, tenth of a penny on Solana. Incredibly exciting stuff. If you're excited, scan the QR code or go over to our booth where we also have QR codes. We're onboarding people right now. You can get signed up. You can get invited to use it either as a client, a vendor, or as a partner enabling one of these different ecosystem pieces here. So thank you so very much for coming today. Thank you for listening to my little spiel here. We are incredibly excited about the future of enterprise payments and B2B payments here.